The feast of St. Bernard, this is one in the Cistercian ambit. I recall the day of clothing at La Trappe and how the abbot consigned at the end of the ceremony the rule and said, "Voici la règle sous laquelle tu dois militer. Behold the rule under which you must do your militia, your fighting." And so the rule was the will of God, and the Cistercians from the beginning tried to take it literally. And therefore there were certain parts of it which would be examined. One was the prohibition, it would seem, of laughter. Some commentators maintained that it was raucous and loud laughter that was being referred to, that which was not worthy of the dignitas of the monk, and took away from the taciturnitas of the ambit of the abbey, the Domus Dei, the house of God. There is one interesting passage in the writings of St. Bernard on this prohibition, and he describes the monk who is trying to suppress his laughter, and he goes on to describe how, badly succeeding, the laughter is coming out through his ears and his nostrils. And indeed, that is true to life. It took me back to school days when, in English, Miss Jones had given us, for homework, think of laughter. And I came to the conclusion, after that exercise of wondering what it was all about, that there was actually a fundamental law with regard to laughter. And I put this down to crystallize it, recalling precisely what St. Bernard described with regard to the poor monk that was leaking badly. Today, the chant nearly ground to an irremediable halt. For homework, think of laughter, said Miss Jones. And so, at home, was what her namesake did. He searched and searched until his very bones protested that the mystery was hid. What is it? What? What is't that sometimes works while others fail to trigger off this chain of unexplained, unfathomable jerks that, like small germs, can whole contingents gain? No other creature knows this oddity but man, and even he, as the authors say, should learn to walk above such crudity and hold within the unmonastic. Nay, Bernard, hast thou solved what Miss did pose? Is't shock this thing that leaks through ear and nose. At La Trappe, I had to translate the session that one of the monks from Gethsemane was giving us. It was Father Chrysogone, and he had known Father Louis, and the last lecture in the session was one on Father Louis, Thomas Merton, and we had some interesting insights into the richness of his character, and humour was not lacking. But his call is interesting. He was being worked upon by grace in a very mysterious way. One day he put his whole life before the little flower, Sainte Thérèse of Lisieux. He said this to her: "You show me what to do. If I get into the monastery, I will be your monk. Now, show me what to do." Suddenly, as soon as I had made that prayer, I became aware of the wood, the trees, the dark hills, the wet night wind, and then, clearer than any of these obvious realities, in my imagination, I started to hear the great bell of Gethsemane ringing in the night. The bell in the big grey tower, ringing and ringing, as if it were just behind the first hill. The impression made me breathless, and I had to think twice to realize that it was only in my imagination that I was hearing the bell of the Trappist Abbey ringing in the dark. Yet, as I afterwards calculated, it was just about that time that the bell is rung every night for the Salve Regina towards the end of Compline. The bell seemed to be telling me where I belonged, as if it were calling me home.